Good evening, everyone. We're welcome you to our September meeting of the Neighborhood Leaders Quarterly Meeting. Just want to go through, but basically turn it over to Alex no, I'm sorry, I'm next. Sorry. Our agenda is that I'm going to just provide some general city updates, and then we'll talk about safe routes to school. In addition, we'll move into Alex's items regarding the profile and talking about our next meeting, and then we'll have our normal round of neighborhood comments and or questions towards the end. So again, thank you all for being here. Yes, for city updates that I wanted to just provide as a short list of things is number one, we are working towards an official reopening to City Hall, which will occur on October 3rd. The thought there is that we will have a new ambassador at the front door to greet you when you come into City Hall. There'll be an individual working the front door who will assist with helping individuals move around the building. That has been something we've been working towards getting done and getting set up as we move the city organization to a posture of COVID isn't going anywhere. So now we must fully adapt and appreciate that it's not going anywhere, and we will conduct ourselves accordingly. So that is a new item that we're working towards getting set up right now so that individuals will be able to come in. There are a host of security measures that have been put into the building since COVID, which does not render this building a free-flowing space that it once was, from what I understand, that you could walk in the building and go anywhere. That's no longer the case. So we are working to make sure that everything is outfitted for you being able to walk to that front door, having access to someone who can then help you move to wherever you may need to go. In some instances, there may be a need for an appointment, and we would assist you at that front door with that as well. We're going to have departments also establish more or less visiting hours that are in general, because we have embraced a hybrid posture as an option for our employees as well. So not every employee will report to this office each day of the week, all day, every day. So there'll be some things that we'll be working out as we have this reopening. So that's one of the main things that I just wanted to share with you all from a neighborhood leader's perspective, assuming that you are the folks who like to come in. We just wanted you to know what that's going to feel like going forward. I do see Mr. Rogers, you want to jump in and do a welcome?
Welcome, everybody. I look forward to these quarterly meetings. We didn't get as many questions as before, but we've answered those that we got. But I think that we have enough on the agenda for a good dialogue tonight. So I look forward to a robust conversation, as we always have. Dive in, Sam.
All right, so we will, we're just going to move into just kind of talking about safe routes to schools. I wanted to make sure that we provided a little more detail in regards to our internal efforts, as they've been varied across multiple departments. We may probably, well, I guess we will pick up on a little bit more of this when we do the roundtable, as I assume that there will be comments and or questions that will come up in that regard. Our position at this moment, of course, has been that we continue to focus on addressing the bus driver shortage. This is a national crisis that has found its way to Charlottesville just the same. It has made it a little challenging in order for us to find individuals who are interested in being a bus driver. Therefore, we have not been able to really fill all of our vacancies. That's on the pupil side and on the transit side. So we're struggling from an operational standpoint in both divisions. Our goal is to do more in regards to attracting individuals to those jobs. The city manager and council this week specifically are having specific conversations about what are some of the options that are available to us. Parts of that, and what makes it complicated, is when we make a change, so does everyone else in our market. So we have to make sure that we can make a big enough change that they won't make as big a change in the same time period, thus neutralizing what it was that we can accomplish by making a change in the first place. So we're definitely looking at a variety of things there. We are very conscious of the idea that this has created some undue pressure on parents for being able to get their kids to school. Our CAT team has worked with a few parent groups trying to make sure that we can organize ways for people to access CAT bus routes as a complement to being able to get kids to school. We're even hearing great compliments from people that they're surprised that it's working for them to Walker and CHS. I see the comment about using UVA drivers. We have reached out to any and every human source that we could think of, asking them to step forward and be a bus driver. And we have taken whoever has agreed to come. It has been still a challenge to get who we need. We are running 12 routes today. We would like to run more than that on the pupil side, and we will continue to work on that. In response to the fact that we knew we were going to have difficulty with bus drivers like we did last year and a couple of years before, we did engage in deep conversations with Charlottesville schools to just identify ways that we could support safer routes to schools with the enhanced walk zones. We took the position that the best thing for us to do would be to have them prioritize a list. They did that. They worked with our staff to identify what the true priorities were, and we numerically took them down one by one. We continue to work that list. We expect to have the main part of the list completed, probably if not this weekend, next weekend. And we are now going to be moving into some of the project-oriented items that came from even some of the neighborhood groups that some of you may have even participated in presenting to us, that residents would like to implement with our guidance and or support. So we're going to move into that phase of projects coming forward to see how we can get as many interventions as possible. I'll be honest with you and say that we also recognize that we had individuals who have reminded us of longstanding infrastructure projects that could have been done years ago that have not been done, that fall into this same vein. We understand those items need to be addressed. We have not chosen to pick each of those items up at this time. Again, focusing on the priority list from schools, as well as wanting to then be responsive to some of the neighborhood groups, things that we felt were practical things that could be implemented. We will get back to those other projects that we know already appear on the Streets That Work list and a number of other plans that we have around the city. So we're going to keep working those. We'll do our best. And it's probably the best way for me to describe. We're trying our best to get through as many of those projects as we possibly can. Council gave us an additional $500,000 to support that work. We put more signs around the city than we've done at one time ever. I think the only other time that we could ever find ourselves putting up as many signs as we have would be if a hurricane came through here and ripped everything off and we had to start over. So we've done a lot of that. We've done a lot of additional crosswalks, and we've done a number of things, all in support of what has been identified for us by schools as the top priorities.
Sam?
Yes, sir.
Somebody in the chat said there has been nothing done to ensure a safe walk zone at Walker.
I will say that I understand that sentiment. We have heard it. I can't own that as how we feel about the situation because we've done a number of things in that area as well. We're still working in that area and understand that Walker is probably the most challenging area at this time. We were anticipating Monticello based on what the schools said about what we would find at Clark. But I agree that Walker is where more attention needs to be paid, and we are looking at Walker right now.
Hi, I'm the person that said that. I'm Becky Calvert. I live on the corner of Greenleaf Lane and Rose Hill Drive in the Walker neighborhood. I had a neighbor yelled at today because of the flex posts that y'all put up yesterday. You have diverted all traffic so that the pickup at Walker only comes through our neighborhood, which does not have sidewalks, nor are most of the streets wide enough for this. The children get dismissed, they come out and run. Basically, our neighborhood is a parking lot every afternoon for Walker. Children dart in between cars to get to where their parents are parked. There's no one queue. I actually just fired off an email to you, Sam, and school officials, because what has been happening is they don't stop for crosswalks. It's dangerous, and a child is going to get hit sooner rather than later. And parents are in too much of a rush to stop. And now neighbors are getting yelled at by parents because we live here over traffic calming measures the city has taken. So no, nothing has been done from the standpoint of the neighborhood that you have now diverted all the traffic to for the pickup line. You haven't done any pedestrian safety improvements.
Yeah, I'm going to echo what Becky says. I'm a parent of a Walker student, and so I participate in that. This is our second year. You guys made it worse. That's 100% what happened.
We will take a look at that. I will take a look at it based on those comments, and we'll take a look at it with schools. I saw the comment that went into them, and we will make sure that this is one that we follow up on. Again, following the recommendations for the various parties that provided the information to us, we thought we were taking what was the best step in that moment. So with that, I will say that we, again, continue to focus on safe routes to schools. We'll do what we can to continue to prioritize. The intention, as I mentioned, when we first brought this item up for council, was we won't stop. Safe routes to schools has been something that we have had for quite some time. I feel like it stalled in the past years. I noticed that from when I came in and started asking questions about what are we doing, and a number of the projects are just on a list, not necessarily a lot of things moving. So I've tried to push to activate those things. And then this crunch came and gave us a reason to try to revisit what was going on. So we'll continue to take a look at that, and I will try to find out more about Walker specifically and see what else we can do. Okay, Alex, I think you are next with the neighborhood survey.
Yeah, just want to report, we received 9 feedbacks in terms of completion of the survey application. It's a little bit challenging because folks didn't complete it like consistently. Some provided excess information, some provided a lot of verbiage. So we are working with our communications department to see how we can streamline that, and then put it in a framework where we'll be able to post it on the website. So that's, once we hear back from communications department, then we decide what the next step will be in terms of posting it on the website.
Okay,
I think we can move into the roundtable portion. I'm going to start it off by reading, more or less responding to, I see 2 comments in the chat. I can respond and say that regardless of the bus driver shortage, sidewalks must be a priority, mainly because we've done a lot of work identifying priority issues with sidewalks around the city, and trying to activate those in a more consistent manner has been one of my topics of priority. My goal is to push to see if we can do better at that, and to do a better job even of reporting and sharing that information with the public so that you know what those schedules even look like. So I'll give you that. Yes, sidewalk should be a priority. And then without buses or a serious push for carpooling, there is not a lot in traffic mitigation. I would agree that that is complicated, and that is accurate. I am working to talk with school leaders. I saw the message again that came in that was suggesting this very thing, that there needs to be more carpooling. We can't mandate that in any way. We can encourage it. Schools can push in an even harder, more effective manner, in my opinion, and working with them to try to figure out if there's some alternatives to bus drop off and student drop off and pick up, I think is what we can strive to work on at this moment. And we'll revisit the notion of the flex post and the negative impacts they may be having. We can go from there with anyone want to open up from the neighborhoods and share any perspectives that you may have for us. If you would raise your hand and I can call on you, and we can move through this orderly like we have in the past. All right, Greenbrier neighborhood.
Hi, I'm Avon. Sorry, cooking dinner also. I just wanted to add a positive comment. I'm very sorry for the Walker woes. The improvements in the Greenbrier neighborhood, I think did make a difference. It definitely, the flex posts of the white stick things definitely are making the crosswalks very apparent. The addition of signs noting where the crosswalks are is really great. And then just yesterday on Yorktown, which I've been working on for 5 years to get sidewalks. We didn't get sidewalks, but we got lines painted 10 feet off the center line. So it just shows the cars where they're supposed to be. So it makes walking a little bit safer. You know, we're just getting used to it now, but I just want to say thank you for that. And it was a huge improvement and I'm very grateful.
Thank you for the comment.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Anyone else? I don't see any other hands, but what I would like to do, I recognize that Brennan and Kyle have both joined us, and I think they had a bad link for the meeting. So Brennan, I'm going to put you on the spot. We had comments in regards to the Walker school zone not necessarily working well, and the improvements that we made may have complicated things with flex post. If you would just kind of share what maybe some of the conversations with schools and what that Walker area looks like as we will revisit any additional changes that can be made.
Sure. One of the main things that the schools have brought up after school had begun for the year was that the Rose Hill was kind of the Wild West when it came to parent drop off. It's not the designated parent drop off area, but people were just kind of coming up Rose Hill and knowing that there wasn't enough room. We're just kind of parking along Rose Hill and then kind of doing U-turns at the intersection with Oakleaf or 3-point turns mid-block. We're still working with the schools on a better plan for how that looks. But we put in the flex posts at the intersection just to try and cut down on the U-turns at that intersection. If people want to turn up Oakleaf and kind of make the circuit around and come back down by the park, that's probably the safer route as opposed to just continuing to make those turnarounds. Like I said, we are working with the schools. There's only 2 grades at Walker, so we're thinking possibly in the future of splitting the parent drop off and designating like 5th grade down at the bottom and 6th grade up at the top, and actually have a dedicated parent drop off down there. Since it's already happening, there's more vehicles than the top can handle. So that's kind of where we are with it right now. We realize it's not the exact best scenario there. So we are still focusing on that, but we don't have a complete answer for it right now.
I see a hand that's marked Dennis Barnes, but doesn't look like Dennis.
Sorry, I didn't raise my hand, but I'd like to.
Okay.
I'm listed on the picture as Dennis Barnes. And
Right.
I'm his wife.
That's what I figured.
I'm representing Jefferson Park Avenue neighborhood.
Okay.
And I sent a comment in about traffic, that our neighborhood has serious, it could experience serious traffic congestion because of maybe 1,000 people coming to that area. Fry Springs is going to be having some development over there. Our neighborhood could, and then one other on Maury Avenue. So that's quite a number of people. And Brendan and I know each other, and I've talked with him in the past about only one traffic engineer for the city. It just seems like we would need more help in that. But the city, I think, Brendan, you're saying that you've been working on getting a traffic engineer, but evidently they're very hard to find. We've been talking about it for quite a while. I guess it's hard to find someone. The other thing is the traffic and pedestrians, the person that's handled bikes has gone. And so there will be more bikers. I just wonder when we could expect to find someone else. But maybe you answer that, I can't.
So yes, I'll tell you that, yes, Brennan is a hardworking individual. I personally have added to the pressure in his life, and I appreciate what he has been able to accomplish as a one-man show. We have been advertising an assistant traffic engineer to him, as well as having added a third position for a traffic inspector to ensure that we have a more robust traffic engineering section. We're at the mercies of our market and being able to find the individuals that can do the job. So far, we just haven't had good luck being able to find qualified individuals to join our team, but we continue to advertise. We even also went as far as trying to see if it was possible to contract that service out so that Brennan would handle certain things and then we could get a contractor to come in and do the rest. We have not been fortunate enough to find anyone to do that either. So that's the honest response to, we're trying to get the help that we need. We just haven't been able to find that in our market at this time. And even the contract route hasn't come together. We are not losing sight of what the priority is in our transportation space. Beyond just those two positions that have been advertised, I know our NDS director is on the line. He interviewed a transportation planner today. Hopefully he's going to tell me later that we've got somebody, someone who can look at transportation at a much higher level and look at all things from a transportation perspective, because the current team members that we have certain areas of focus. Brendan is broader than most of the other folks that I might be speaking of, but this transportation planner will be thinking about where we are as well as where we're going. So that's going to be a new added resource that we'll add to the mix. In addition to, we will be filling the bike ped position. That position won't remain vacant forever. It is just a position that is open at this time. So we intend to bring the full complement of staff to this work. At this moment, it's just at the mercy of trying to find those individuals.
All right, thank you for answering. And I agree, Brennan is doing the best he can. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Calvert?
Yeah, I just wanted to go back to what Brennan said about, so the post went in yesterday, and this afternoon, a neighbor that lives on that corner was yelled at by a parent demanding to know who gave him the authority to install those. But so the streets are so clogged, all of our streets, Oakleaf, Delmar, Rose Hill, Greenleaf, with traffic from every direction, because the only way to approach Walker is through our neighborhood, so that it's easier for them to turn around and go back up Rose Hill than it is to drive on any of the streets, because trying to get in and out of this neighborhood between 2:30 and 3:30 in the afternoon, you take your life into your own hands. The traffic situation is just, and it's not just that there's traffic, it's that the parents are so rude and that there is no regard for any pedestrian safety, including their own children. So, and I know, Brandon, you walked around with me last fall and took a look at what happens during pickup, and it is about 100 times worse this year. It's really insane.
Yeah, like I said, we're working with it. I mean, I've gone as far as to propose to the schools that we haven't done it yet, of, like I said, kind of designating, you know, even if it's just for that hour of the day, make, Oak Leaf and Del Mar, one way, and force people just to kind of go counterclockwise as they come up to the school and just use those streets as a, parent pickup. Because I mean, like you said, that's what it's being used for today. And, just try and give a little bit of order where there is none right now. And I know it's probably not the best case scenario for the neighbors, but hopefully that would be better than what y'all are dealing with right now.
I mean, if there was just even a queue at the back door so that children weren't just darting out in between cars on all the streets, it would definitely make it safer. But then there's no regard for the crosswalk in front of the park. I mean, both this morning and this afternoon, as I was trying to walk my dog, on the lone sidewalk in the neighborhood, which is on Rose Hill, cars do not stop for pedestrians in that crosswalk. And there was an incident a couple weeks ago where I watched 2 children try to attempt to cross that street as parents were flying through. No one stopped. So I went out there, and it was a teacher who flew through and then stopped and said, "Oh, I didn't think you were actually going to cross." So it's a problem that they're not paying attention to the crosswalks or the children crossing. So yeah, something has to be done, because the traffic isn't safe. The driving has no regard for the children walking.
Okay. Well, we're Kyle Rodlin, he's our Safe Routes to School coordinator. The 2 of us have been meeting with the schools weekly for going on 2 or 3 months now, to try and get a lot of this stuff taken care of. So we will make sure to bring that up as another point of emphasis from the neighborhoods we met this morning. And they said, make sure you come back with us with the concerns. So we'll make sure that that's, brought up the priority list a little bit and see if we can get that taken care of.
And I'll add that I also hear things that the school staff can participate in supporting. So I'll be reaching out, I've already reached out to leadership, asking for a little time for us to have further conversations about what are some of the things that I've heard even tonight that they can consider doing, as well as they have more influence with parents in that particular moment, that maybe there's some steps that they can implement as well.
And there is one other item that we were going to do on Rose Hill. We'll have the "your speed is" school zone signs where it's flashing at you, probably up towards the top of the hill around where Del Mar comes in. I want to say Walker is one of the few that doesn't have that right now. So the schools are requested that just based on ordering it and having it delivered, it'll probably be still 6 to 8 weeks before we get that and are able to install that, but that is coming as well.
Thank you.
Diane Dale.
Hi, I am not representing any individual neighborhood group, although I'm on the board of the Martha Jefferson neighborhood. I'm on this call because I'm the representative for the leadership group for the planning and zoning code update. I was going to ask about how to be a more effective representative of this group in the steering committee meetings, and this discussion on transportation sort of provides framework for that. Example, the zoning code and planning has been focused on the land use and not necessarily discussing, at least in the meetings, its integration with transportation planning. And obviously there's transportation issues in the different neighborhoods. So this is an example of a topic that ought to be from the neighborhood leaders group that ought to be brought forward into the discussion on the plan update and the zoning code and other topics as well. And so my question is how you envision having this leadership group work within the planning updates, so that there is in fact feedback that does represent the neighborhood interests. I know that there's been some direct contact with some of the neighborhood groups. I'm not sure that that's happening throughout the city, but I think it would be great to pursue an opportunity for more representation of this group in the process.
I would say that we acknowledge the comment about the linkage to transportation and comp plan, hence the decision to hire a transportation planner. We're also looking to hire a long-range planner so that we're not just focused on today's vision, but tomorrow's vision just the same. And I would say that I know, James, if you want to add more, you're welcome to join in, but I know that we've hosted a number of moments around the community with this open period, reacting to the diagnostic report to gather feedback from neighborhood groups. We intend to continue to do that. And I'll just kind of pat James on the back for what you have noticed as a different approach in this round of the work that we've done, is that you see staff leading most of those conversations versus the consultants. So we've pretty much tried to right size and to shift the approach that we took in prior years that basically lent themselves to the complaints that we received that residents didn't feel like they were being able to participate in the process. We've actually grabbed that one a little bit more, and James himself, as I've joined him on a couple of those moments, but we've taken the lead on leading those conversations in the community, soliciting feedback. I would say that this is an ongoing focus group is the way I look to this group. When I've shared with you maybe 2 or 3 meetings ago, the first one of these moments that I had, I did not enjoy because it did not feel like this was the best use of all of our time. But I do feel a lot better about where we are today to have reasonable conversations about things that are problems and that we can get through them and then do something to fix them. We'll continue to do that. I think your representation is meant to capture even what these folks are saying and bring that back into the meeting. So we appreciate your participation and want you to continue to speak up for what you hear. And that is why we have staff and leadership members of our team on these calls each time so that they can hear it as well and then react to it and use it.
Okay, great. If I could follow up, I do think that in August, there was new information released by the consultants that had not been included in the public workshop in June, such as the added bonus for incentivizing affordable units that the initial numbers weren't penciling out. And so by example, where general residential had been 3+1, it's now 3+2. I'm not sure that all the neighborhoods are aware of the changes to the plan. And so I'm at the last steering committee meeting, I suggested there ought to be another round of public communication, but I'm not prepared to be the single person, doing that through neighborhoods.
Sure.
But I think that I think that is the latest round of the recommendations for the affordable housing that was presented in late August isn't necessarily known about, let alone understood by the local neighborhoods. I did read the report, and it's a really very good report, very, very well, very analytical, very well presented, but it's also very dense and not a topic that's necessarily readily accessible, understandable by
Sure.
the residents throughout.
Yeah, and we appreciate that. We do recognize there will be more community engagement. It doesn't end. It's not done. So there will be more. The last section of the report that you reference that was a matter of timing with the consultants. We didn't want to hold the whole thing up, and we got it out as soon as we could with the news blast. We'll continue to talk about it. This is just a moment in the series, in a step in the series of how we get to the end result. There will be a presentation on the 27th, a joint meeting between council and planning commission. where James and the consulting team will be updating the public at large as well. So that was one of the announcements that I had for you all that I was going to tell you as we ended this call. You can look forward to that opportunity on the 27th as a joint session. And we'll continue to get the word out the best ways that we can and make sure that people can digest it for what it is. And I do agree, it's dense, it's technical information, and there's going to be a lot of work that's required to help everyone understand it.
And Sam, I just want to add, I remember the last 1 or 2 meetings, neighborhood leaders meeting, when James made his presentation on the diagnostic approach. He also promised the neighborhood leaders that he will be back, in December to provide them an update in terms of the process where we are and some of the changes that may be coming as a result of the engagement process.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't end, that's for sure. So thank you for that comment. Jason Halbert.
Hi, thank you. I want to start because I launched into a little bit of a negative comment on Walker, the situation, but I want to thank all of you, Sam and the city leadership and staff, for what you've been doing over the last year to improve operations and be responsive. You've definitely, I've been commenting to others outside of this about how it's a huge improvement over where we've been. So I don't want you to think it's all negative. It's not. I have a couple things. One, the first is the Fry Springs Neighborhood Association is having our annual Oktoberfest event for the first time in person again since the pandemic. October 9th, Sunday, October 9th at 3 o'clock. Some of the city staff may have already gotten an invite. I will make sure that all of you city staff get invites. The fire department and others have already committed to being there as they have in the past, and it should be a good time. There'll be food and drink and hopefully some music. You're all welcome to attend, including the rest of the neighborhood leaders. Now to my question. Over the last 6-7 years, I've been to almost every, certainly not every budget hearing, and previous staff have said that they would work on, or it's in development, a more transparent dashboard for the city's capital improvement program. It's been this thing held out and dangled as a promise of the future, and I would like to understand if that is just people talking or if there's actual reality behind that. And if there's not, that's great. I don't want to have this false hope. If there is, we're coming into the beginning of the budget season, and I would hope that we could have more transparency around the capital improvement program and more integration of what the city neighborhoods want. That's number one. And the last one is, I was going to go into the specifics about the JPA improvements that were well underway until staff and the pandemic and lots of other things happened. But I'll leave it at that.
Let me respond to the question about the capital budget process. I'm sure that it's one of those things that all cities grapple with over time, and it's a constant improvement process. We are making improvements. We are seeking to be more transparent. We're putting more of our budget information online. We have, I think we advertised before that there are links on our website, on the budget office website, where you can get updates on our budget process. We're just about to launch our CIP budget process now, and that information will be online and available as a way to make CIP planning more transparent, to get us a better status of where projects are. One of the big things is that we've got more projects that have been authorized but not funded, and but we just need to understand what those priorities are, and those will be listed and sorted through, and have a more streamlined process on the CIP. So it's not just talk. It's something top of mind that we are working on, and you will see the fruits of our labor in this budget cycle.
Great, thank you.
Carl Schwartz.
Hey, so I don't know when we're next going to meet, but I think snow season is coming eventually, and I can't remember if this is something that at some point, I can't remember if this is something that we talked about in this group, or if it's something that I remember from BPAC, or if where it came from. But the idea of neighborhood groups helping out with snow shoveling. And I don't know if that's something that, we could coordinate through this neighborhood group, or if the city has some other method that they're thinking of, or if that's even on the city's radar. I wasn't sure if I'm making that up or not.
Well, let me just say thank you for reminding me that the white powdery stuff is coming, because I hate it so much, but that's just my personal issue. Yes, we are most definitely interested. I actually was with the public works staff today, and we spent time talking about leaf collection and getting ourselves ready for that process to kick off at the end of next month. And it looks very good at what we're going to be able to roll out as features of managing that program for the public to actually be able to interface with the trucks as they're coming through neighborhoods, very much like we have done. We're going to have that as well for snow plows in a consistent manner, and we will be adding it to our street sweepers as well. So we're trying to get better at a lot of the things that shouldn't be that hard, because we have the equipment. We just haven't had the capacity to get everything set up. But specifically as it relates to snow, we struggle right now with our sidewalk management of what happens when it snows. We have tried desperately, from what I've been able to go back and look at, each year to get a vendor to back us up, so that when it is more than what we can handle, we can call someone in. We have not been able to find a vendor to come in and do that work. We have put it out for procurement 3 years in a row and have not gotten anyone to sign up 3 consecutive years in a row. Our procurement office has informed us that the recommendation is to not put it out this year, because we're not going to get a response. Because by all indications, if you've been around our community in a couple of places, VDOT has actually put up an advertisement that they are looking for help. Anytime that the state is qualifying the notion that they need help, then the local municipality is going to have no chance, because we're not going to be able to do what they can do, because they're much, much more flexible. So we're going to have to be creative. So I'm going to say that if you are right now offering to shovel snow, I will take you up on it. And anyone else who is willing to shovel snow on sidewalks, I will take them up on it as well. We most definitely need to figure out a way that we can assemble some sort of ambassador group to help us with the management of this particular process, because we do have a number of elderly individuals and others that are unable to do that responsibility themselves and face the fine that comes with not being able to take care of it. We are very conscious of that. We try to be responsive to that, and being able to share information that we had gained on who was doing that work, just so that people would have a resource. Kind of backfired on me, because it was showing that the city was relying on someone else instead of solving its own problem. This is everyone's problem, is probably the best way for me to say it. So I will take you up on being a co-chair for a committee if you want to sign up and help me figure out how to do that. We most definitely need to figure it out, and we're going to have to be creative and do something different than we've ever done before. I see the statement of loaning blowers to volunteers. I am interested in having that conversation, however we can do it. There's a number of hoops that I, as a representative of the government, must jump through, but I'm willing to take that jump and try to figure this out, because it is a significant issue that I think we need to spend some time on. So what I'll do is I'm going to task Alex with, we will put this on our agenda for next week's conversation. He and I will figure out exactly how we'll put that information back out to you. And we'll probably have a secondary conversation with those that are interested in helping us solve that problem, coming up with different approaches. And we will definitely get to work on figuring that out ahead of when that stuff comes back to visit us.
Sam, if I can add something just as it relates to the Safe Routes to School. We worked with them on their, what they have designated as kind of the priority walk routes for each school. And we've we've given through our GIS, we've pulled all the addresses along those corridors. For the schools, they've come up with a postcard to be sent out to basically all of those saying, hey, you're on the safe routes to school walking route, please try and keep your sidewalks clear of garbage cans and everything else. And by the way, snow is on the way. And if you need help with that, they're supposed to contact Kyle. More so, we don't necessarily have a plan at this point, but to try and get an idea of just how many people along those school routes in particular need help. And maybe we can focus our efforts to help people on those first, and then move on to other people who need help, shoveling their snow.
Yeah, it is very important that we get this under control. It's been a concern of mine after watching the 4 different snowfalls this year, that we've got to get that worked out. And because of our expanded walking zones, it's even more of a serious situation, because how can we have kids walk on the sidewalks that haven't been shoveled? So we have not lost sight of it. As Brendan mentioned, they talked about it from day one, and we're definitely interested in any of you that want to work on this issue with us. All right, Avon Kinley.
Hi, I was chatting. My chat question, just since we're on the topic of snow shoveling, is it common for the city to send out fines for that? I don't have a sidewalk, unfortunately. So that was one question. I have like 4, so they're all kind of different. Is anybody?
We do that, yes.
Yeah, it does happen. Okay, because I've reported it through the city app, because there's some sections on the way to Greenbrier that where there's a little bridge that goes over the creek, and it's technically, I think that's city property, and that's not typically in the rotation. And it's really difficult because, the sidewalk's right next to the road and all the snow gets plowed onto it. So it's not an easy task to begin with. So that's something I think the city needs to be mindful of too, that some of their properties on the way to school that's not getting plowed. That's right at the intersection of Greenbrier and Brandywine, where the trail crosses the road. I actually shoveled it myself last year when we had snow down for 4 weeks. The other thing you guys mentioned, the street sweepers, which are awesome, but I feel like they could be a lot more effective if neighbors knew that they were coming and they could move their cars.
That's my reference
just
to
kinda,
I'm sorry, that is the reference I'm making to what we're doing right now. We're working on making
cool.
that happen so that the sensors will be added to it, and you actually will be able to watch them move just like we do with trucks and snowplows.
Okay, great. Yeah, I think they could be a lot more effective if, people would be happy to move their cars, if they knew they were coming. I know in big cities, there's signs like you can't park on this side on Mondays, but obviously we're not big enough for that. My next question is about the Meadow Creek Trail that could be able to connect Mickey Drive to the Greenbrier neighborhood. Our neighborhood worked pretty hard to get funding secured for that. And I think it was funded. I just wanted to ask you guys directly if there was an update on that. I know some bridges need to be built to make it more accessible, because it is a very important route to connect those families to the school and the playground at school on the weekends too.
It is over 2/3 of the way funded. Council has indicated that they will close that loop at the end of the year with their surplus to provide the remaining balance that's needed to be able to get the project going. We have pushed forward the design work in anticipation of those funds and expect to have that done as soon as we possibly can.
That's excellent news. Thank you so much. My next, since it's in the same part of the area, is the Kmart shopping center. Are there any plans for redeveloping that, or is that still undecided?
As private development, I can't tell you what I know, but I know that people have talked about it and they're looking at it.
Okay. And same question for the Seminole Square.
That we have received, I think we have preliminary plans that have been submitted to start looking at what is the future redevelopment plan for that particular property.
Okay, great. My last question, which is very specific, is about invasive plants in the neighborhood. There are new species of invasives and weeds that are really taking over. And one specifically is wisteria, which is kind of encompassing the end of my block where Yorktown meets Brandywine Drive in Greenbrier. Is there someone who specifically I should talk to about that? Is there anything the city can do to support removing those? Because it's going to take over and strangle all the trees eventually. It's insane.
Yes, we have a city arborist who that's his job to work on those kinds of issues within the Parks and Rec department. Because I've told you all that I'm a straight shooter and I'm just honest. Invasive species are all over the place here in our city. It is beyond our capacity to fully respond to the way we need to, but we are working on it and looking at even more creative ways to address it. We do invasive species work all year long, every year, trying to get a handle on it. But the problem is that they are tough and they come back very easily. And we have adopted a very, I don't know what the right word is. We use more organic chemicals to go after certain things. So that in itself requires multiple treatments instead of one and done. So it does make it a little more challenging. It's not a complaint, that's just a fact. And we're really working hard to do it, but without additional capacity, it's just something that we cannot do any more than what we've been able to do thus far. So it's not the right answer, but it's really where we are as a situation.
Would the city support if I got a group of people in the neighborhood that wanted to work on it? I mean, could they be like, oh yeah, we'll come pick up whatever you ripped down, or, that kind of stuff, support like any volunteer efforts?
I would imagine that would not be something hard for us to be able to work out. What I'll ask you to do is make a connection to Alex, and so that he has your information and the concept. And
Jeff Thompson or Benedict.
We can work that through process with Public Works. It just sounds like a special pickup that we might be able to coordinate.
Okay.
It might just be a matter of giving you additional instructions on where to place it so that it can be picked up on a normal route.
Okay, and is that Alex who's on this meeting?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm here.
Okay, awesome. I'll email you, Alex. Thank you so much. I appreciate all those answers.
Thank you.
Mr. Abramson.
Mr. Abraham's son, I was looking forward to hearing from you tonight.
Well, that's great. Hope I have something productive to say. I wanted to actually just second the comments about the invasive species and bring that together with the comment about the sidewalks. Is we've had some great neighborhood responses to the school bus and the walking circumstances. People have, even if they're not official, their parents are on the corners and helping people cross the streets and such. The more we can leverage that, the better. And if the city can facilitate, for example, gardeners who are willing to go to somebody that are vetted in some way to go and help people remove invasive species from a tree, in the same way that some of the peanut mont gardeners are consulting on turf removal and those sorts of things. Now, the more the city can facilitate that, not out of the city pocket to do the work, volunteers can do the work. If the very real liability issues can be resolved, I know that there's people who would happily go and help somebody remove ivy from a tree to save that tree, if the conditions are there for them to do that service. So I just want to put a second on that idea. I think that has legs. The thing I really wanted to speak to is a bit of some of the low-hanging fruit relative to bike pedestrian infrastructure. I realize the position is coming, the person who's going to guide that, but there are a few instances around town, particularly in the school system, where some additional bike racks would be very helpful, both in terms of presenting a safe place for kids to like up bikes, and again, just building awareness in the community that these facilities exist. For example, Johnson Elementary has kind of a ladder style bike rack. Kids can't lift their bikes over it and a lot of the wheels are too small. They can't actually, it doesn't actually hold them up, and it torques the wheels, damages the bikes. If we could get some staple style racks at each of the elementaries, that would help. Charlottesville High School, I think there's 3 staple style bikes for a total of 6 bikes storage on the entire performing arts wing. And again, there's a ladder style rack, but it's like up against the wall. It doesn't really hold bikes. It's not a great scene for people to feel secure about bringing their bike to school. So if again, maybe there's a way for the community to crowdsource this. Is there a sponsor bike rack event that could happen where somebody says, hey, I'm willing to put a certain amount of money to get a bike rack here, and the city can leverage that. Now, I think there's people who are interested and capable of doing that.
Hey, William, I'm Kyle, the Safe Routes to School coordinator. I can speak to the bike rack question. We are in contact with all the schools about their bike parking needs, and we have requests from a lot of schools to add additional bike racks. Johnson is one of them. Johnson's, on that note, Johnson is a bit of a unique situation where they have that bike rack that you mentioned. There's also a temporary bike rack that we dropped off in lieu of having the physical equipment to put a new bike rack there. And then there's also an art in place bike rack, which not many people know as a bike rack, but it is. It's a piece of art. So in that particular school, we're trying to drive people to parking their bikes there. But we are working on procuring equipment like those you call them staple style bike racks, but those actual style bike racks, and pouring concrete or putting them into existing concrete. And I think we have maybe 4 or 5, about 5 schools that are requesting more parking. So we're working with the schools on that and working on procuring the equipment. But in the meantime, we do have some temporary bike parking to kind of try and ease the parking woes.
Thank you.
And as far as funding is concerned, there are a few opportunities that we are pursuing. The Safe Routes to School program through VDOT, they have grant opportunities, which are called mini grants, and they can fund things up to $1,000 to $1,500 per grant cycle, which I believe there are 4 per year. So we're looking at some avenues like that to kind of help the funding process as well. So we're looking at multiple funding sources.
Great. That's all I had. Thank you all for your time and your expertise.
Thank you. I'll also take a moment and just express that I'm just hearing those suggestions on pursuing grants, that the city is also in the process of establishing a new position, a grants manager position. It's the first time we would have an individual who will be responsible for the city's pursuit of grants, because cities around the country have done a great job doing that, getting other monies to bring to their communities and using those to address various issues, especially examples that we just heard. We are going to hopefully have that position posted in the next couple of weeks, and possibly find someone to come in and really help us to organize the various grants that we go after. We go after grants all the time, but we don't always know in our office even which grants we're going after, and other departments don't necessarily know that one department is applying for it. One of the things that I'd like to see is more collaborative effort on what it is that we're asking for, how much we ask for, and what the various impacts could be for what we're doing. We might be able to increase just what we're already asking for and get more money just because we did a better job of putting together a great story. So I'm looking forward for that position to come online and to be available to us. And then what we intend to do with the capacity that I hope will exist, because we tend to give everybody everything and then think they can do everything, that there will then be someone who could actually be given the task of going after strategic opportunities. Like, say we wanted to go after all of our bike racks all over, and Kyle has so many things that he's doing, but he can't necessarily get that one more thing written in the form of a proposal. There'll be someone else that could do that and work with him to get that put together.
Awesome.
Right. Is there anyone else with the burning comment, question? Right, seeing none, I thank you all for your participation. We do appreciate these opportunities, even those moments where it feels a little uncomfortable. We understand that's our job to sit and hear that and do what we can with the information. So thank you for continuing to come and bringing that information back to us, and we will do our best to continue to strive to do our best. Thank you all. I think our next meeting is December. Is that right, Alex?
Yes, December 15th.
Okay.
We will see you then. Thank you all.
Sam, thank you, and the rest of
Thank
the
you.
leadership team. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.